Hi guys, welcome back to another video. We are going to talk today about how to deal with negative self-talk and critical inner voices. So anyone that knows how to deal with this stuff, it is I. Oh my gosh, I have had more, so much more than what I believe is my fair share of negative inner self-talk. The amount of criticism that I've heaped on myself, that I've experienced internally, the amount of resistance and judgment and shame, the things in my life that I feel like have just tried to press, oppression, right? The internal things in me that created a sense and feeling of like I was being squished. Just recently this morning, I recorded, this is the third video that I've recorded today and the other two are over on my channel already. But I was watching the first two that I recorded back and I just was overwhelmed, not overwhelmed, but I just noticed this feeling or this sense of like not good enough come up, like this feeling of inadequacy. Like I was watching myself in these videos and I'm like, oh, like I can feel, I was like, I'm just not hitting it. Like when I hit, like there's a unique point, there's like a specific tone, there's an exact right way to say this and you're not doing it. Like in the second video, I feel like I was, but the first video, it just it felt like I wasn't. And I was getting quite like angry and upset. And thankfully this has happened enough times that I can kind of have a little bit of awareness around it rather than getting lost in the shame spiral. Because what happens, and I just noticed this then, and if you can create some awareness the next time this happens to you, or maybe it's happening right now, in the shame spiral, there's this sense of like, this top is like one of my favorite tops, and then I kind of get the feeling that it's too revealing, so I'm doing these ones. But I mean, it's, it is what it is. My body is perfect and beautiful exactly as it is. So let's just embrace all of who I am today and right now. But I was feeling it. And what happens is, for me, or what has happened in the past, is that I get this sense and then it sucked on my motivation. All of a sudden I was like, I don't want to do this. I was, I think I just posted the videos, or I was just about to, and I was editing the captions, and then I was going to work on my book. But I was like, I just don't want to do anything. And I kind of had this compulsion to go to the kitchen and start eating food. And I think this is like the double whammy of like, I'm not good enough, and then I don't want to, it creates, or there's like, I feel it up here, and then it feels like there's a void in my stomach where it's like this void of, there's like portal, this black hole where I'm like, I had actually a meditation or a visualization the other morning where I actually went through the black hole, and on the other side of that black hole, it was like it was a portal. It wasn't actually a void. It was a portal into confidence and showing up in the world as, who I really like, and my own power. But like when you're in it and when you're feeling it, it's like you're on the other side of it, you're kind of on the edge of it, and you're like, oh, this sucks. And I had this awareness. I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this to myself? Because, these voices, this feeling of like judgment and self, just criticism, like this feeling of not good enough. There's an experience of like, okay, so yeah, maybe you're not hitting the exact right points that you wanted to hit. So what? And I said to this part of myself, I was like, you realize you're only saying these things and you're only doing this to yourself because you're afraid. And you're actually trying to hold yourself back because of what you're afraid of, what you think other people will say to you when you move past this like block and put this thing out into the world. And when you realize, and I was saying this to this part of myself again, I was like, when you realize that the thing that you're afraid of is actually not out there, it's just your own, it's what you're doing to yourself right now. It's your own sense of like retribution, and it's actually this feeling that we're experiencing. You'll stop doing this to yourself, because part of like, negative inner self-talk and criticism, it's like our ego's attempt to like keep us from doing the thing that will put us, become like into more of like the light, like we'll become more exposed. Like, I'll post this video and people will see it. I'll publish a book and people will read it, and more of me will be made available to the public. And this part is like, because, it thinks that, whatever untold tragedies, it thinks that those things are waiting for it out there. Those things aren't actually waiting for it. And I just said to this little piece of myself, I was like, you're actually just afraid of yourself. Like, what are you doing, mate? Like, and once you realize that, you're actually only afraid of, the thing that you're afraid of is actually yourself. And you're making it worse by perpetuating this cycle of being really, really mean to yourself. And I actually just got up because I had this I had this kind of analogy come through in my mind where I was like, if I was a dancer doing fouettes right now, like a ballerina, and I was like practicing my fouettes, would I be, you know, if I was training myself as a dancer, would I be standing there yelling at myself and being like, you're not doing enough, like you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not getting it, if I didn't like hit the exact perfection of the fouette every single, like, no, that's a ridiculously ineffective way to train someone to coach. I've taught dancing. I would never, like, that's not an effective way to coach anyone or teach anyone to do anything. It might like work in the interim because the person is like so scared of you and so like hates themselves that they like, I don't know, but it just, the beautiful thing about, you know, maybe you can attain like some form of perfection that way, but it's not actually, that's not perfection because it's not from love. Like perfection and mastery. And I was just, you know, I took a break, I ate an ice block, I was lying out on the daybed outside. I was like, you know what, I would never yell at someone for not hitting their fouettes perfectly every single time. So why am I yelling at myself for not, you know, getting it right every single time? And if, you know, if I was to continue going down this, like, it's not actually a fun thing to do to like improve under these conditions. And I just, you know, I'm someone who, I have incredibly high standards, I'm incredibly ambitious. And one of the kind of things that I guess comes with my life path, so I've been told, is like, you know, this thing that I'm overcoming, I have had this tendency, we'll see now, I'm like meticulous with my language now. I've had this tendency in the past to be very self-critical and to, you know, like, it just, if it becomes a thing where you're like, you know, it's draining your energy and it's making you not want to do stuff, it's actually not effective. And when you have that realization, because ultimately, like, you know, this, all of you, or like all of me, wants to get where I'm going, wants to experience